Some seeds grow into plants, while others are just simply forgotten. Seeds takes a look at the forgotten, uncut gems of music. From songs you wrote as a child to that track that never quite made it to light. We'll play you all the hits that you didn't even know you needed. I'm your host Lenny, and you're listening to Seeds.
I am a tree and I grew from a seed, and that's all I have to say.
That was awful.
Nobody's gonna hear this.
You're listening to Seeds.
To start off the show, we're going to talk to some Ryerson students about music, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll hear some original on-the-spot songs. To start us off, have you ever written a song before?
One thing that comes to mind is when I was like 7 or 8 and I was bored in my room, I decided to write my own version of what a disco song was.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I've released a few. I'm not going to tell you that they're good because I can't vouch for that. But yeah, I've collaborated with some people.
I tried to use a chord to make songs, but it doesn't sound good, so.
If I asked you to come up with a quick song, could be about anything, could be about the environment around you, could just be a small tune, a beat, could you do that?
Oh my god, putting me on the spot.
I would try. I guess that's it.
I'm on my bed. I drank some coffee. I wouldn't know what else to say right now because I don't have anything else around me, even though my room's a mess.
I feel really hot right now, and this fan is blowing wind into my hair, and it's making me super uncomfortable and scratchy. Thank you.
The other day I was cleaning space on my phone, and I started going through my voice memos. And I'm sure other people with a bad memory can relate, but I had to have hundreds of voice memos on there. It felt like I was scrolling for days. And the majority of these voice memos were just short clips of me singing a flat rendition of whatever idea was going through my head at a gas station one day. But as I started sorting through the mounds of recorded stream of consciousness, I heard clips that I'd gone back and developed into fully realized music, but also clips that I'd just forgotten about, sitting in voice memos collecting dust. This made me think, how many unrealized ideas have been forgotten? So I called up some friends and some local musicians and asked for their voice memo deep takes. And some of it is genuinely really good, and it makes me sad that nobody's heard it up until this point. And then some of it, in my opinion, is quite comfortable in the vault. But today we look at everything, so sit back as we go deep into the unheard, the unreleased, and the never played again. That was Truax Sly Fox, a local Hamilton musician. Now I know I said get comfortable, but maybe not too comfortable, because not all the tracks are as smooth as that one. That was Turtle in the Hair by Maddie James, who we're actually going to talk to later in the show. This next recording is another untitled recording from Maddie, and it reminds me of those days when you're just fooling around, playing some music, and you do something that you think is cool, so you record it, and then after that you don't really do anything with. These are the recordings that really get me and are kind of the point of the show, is that how many abandoned ideas are we missing out on? Up next is one of my personal favorites. It just seems like they were having so much fun when making this, and if nobody else is going to hear it, I'm glad that we got to hear it today. This is Sebastian Evans and again Truax Sly Fox with Sweet Sweet Love.
Making sweet, sweet love in a flower bed. Oh, I'm just trying to understand what she said. Oh, making sweet, sweet love in a flower bed. Oh, I'm not gonna dwell, just gonna carry on instead. Oh, making sweet, sweet love in a flower bed.
I can't decide which one was more jarring, the voice crack or the abrupt ending. Nonetheless, I love that recording and the way they parody Bob Dylan's iconic sound. Now, I don't know if there's really a point to bringing up all these old tracks. Maybe they don't matter, maybe they were forgotten for a reason. But I think it's kind of cool to dig up old stuff. It's a little bit nostalgic.
Making sweet, sweet love in a flower bed.
Today on Seeds, we have a very special guest. Just as promised, Maddie James is here to talk about songwriting and some songs that she's written in the past. Maddie is a musician and a songwriter. She plays the trombone, the guitar, the piano, the drums, among many more. She's performed with the Hamilton All-Star Jazz Band and is currently studying music at U of T. It's great to have you here, Maddie.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So, Maddie, recently you've been getting more into songwriting. When did you start songwriting?
Well, I only started writing songs like often when school closed and everything, and I had way more free time than any of us anticipated. But technically, the first song I ever wrote was in the second grade.
That very first song in grade 2. Can you tell me about that and what it was about?
I think I was a lunch monitor, and some kids were misbehaving or something. You know, I called them over to the table where I was eating my lunch, and I was like, let's talk about it. And then when I sent them back to their desk, my friend and I, we started formulating this little melody, and we ended up having a great final product. The song is called Let's Talk About It, and I don't think I have a recording of it anywhere, but I remember how the chorus goes.
Could we hear a little rendition of what you remember?
Yeah, it went something like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. That's all I really remember, but I think there was some more interesting stuff going on there too. But that's all I've got for you guys today, just a little sample.
When you were younger, writing these songs for fun, did you consider yourself a musician or a songwriter at that time?
No, I don't think I considered myself to be anything at that point. I was very much outside of my head and not inside of my head. And then when you start, like, you know, growing up a little bit, then you become a lot more self-conscious. But second grade me was just completely on the outside of my head, if that makes any sense at all.
If you woke up tomorrow and Let's Talk About It was on the radio, what do you think everyone's reaction would be to it?
They'd probably say, wow, it sounds like a grade 2 wrote that song. And they would be right.
Thanks so much for talking to us today, Maddie. In the spirit of voice memo deep takes, I decided to go back to a recording from 2018 when I first started learning how to play the bass. The original recording goes a little something like this. do today with this track is develop it with guitar and drum and synth to create a piece of music that is only going to be heard on this show right now. So let's get started. The first thing I did was record some drums. Now, I'm no master of drums, so I kept it pretty simple. Then I tweaked the bass line a little bit from the recording and added in some guitar. And finally, I was having some trouble with the synth, so I decided to put in some harmonies. Now, I did change the bass line quite a bit from its source material, but it kind of just goes to show how music evolves from that first idea, and it definitely makes me feel better about those tracks that I abandoned because I didn't think they were good enough. And just like all those tracks we heard earlier, this one's staying here in the confines of this podcast to never really be heard again. Nonetheless, I wanted to give this track a little bit of life still, so I decided to name it. I'm gonna name it after the original voice memo title, which is Random Bass Riff. So I'll play you guys out with Random Bass Riff, and hopefully you have a reason to go back into your voice memos and do a little reminiscing for yourself. This has been Seeds, and I'm your host, Lenny. Enjoy. A big thank you to all the people we talked to at Ryerson and all the people who contributed their voice memos: Truex Sly Fox, Sebastian Evans, Maddie James, Victoria McGowan. Thanks so much, and thank you for listening to Seeds.